So what does this month mean to you, both professionally and personally?
It's particularly significant for me since it was high school when I was a rising senior that the notion of celebrating AAPI heritage first occurred. And that was 130 years after first Asians had immigrated to the United States. It was 30 years after my mother had immigrated to the United States, and it was about 2.5 decades after my family members had been interred in America during the Korean War. So being able to celebrate AAPI heritage brought dignity to our community and showed the value of our community by highlighting it to others. And it's a small community, smaller back then, but today, still just under 7% of the American population.
What would you say inclusivity means to you?
I think inclusivity is how we act, speak, and engage with others so that individuals know that they matter, that we convey to them that we welcome their contributions, we welcome their perspectives, and that they feel free to be part of an organization as opposed to somehow being marginalized, to feel that they cannot be themselves or they cannot bring their whole selves to whether it's work or a group setting. So essentially, inclusivity is very basic of how do you make sure that people feel they belong.
That's really important, actually. Yeah, I think that I experienced that a lot growing up, and knowing that you've paved the path and knowing that other women and Asians have shared their awareness about the heritage made me feel more comfortable to share a piece of myself as well. So that's great. Thank you. Can you share a little bit about inclusivity at GDMS?
Absolutely. I think that for GDMS, inclusivity is really part of the fabric of how we operate. It is a priority because we're very geographically dispersed. We have individuals who come from all walks working within GDMS, and they bring such unique contributions. And just like our discussion right now, just celebrating the heritage of individuals and allowing other people to understand what makes people tick, what is their background, and respecting that background. It's all part of how do you have a strong organization, how do you have a company that people want to be part of because they know that they're valued.
That's amazing. So when I came into the interview 3 years ago at GDMS, I think one of the things that somebody told me at the interview was there's such a strong focus on the people here. And I didn't know if I necessarily believed it when I interviewed, but having experienced it the past 3 years, I think that is really true, that we welcome all walks of life. And I think it's amazing to see for such a professional company in a defense industry.
And I guess my response to that is I would agree, because ultimately actions speak louder than words.
Right. So can you tell us about our EMC Squared Employee Resource Group?
Absolutely. So EMC Squared is all about inclusivity, and it's a multicultural employee resource group led by some of our very impressive employees. So you don't have to be multicultural necessarily to join. You can be an ally, a supporter, but they do great things for the company. They continue to grow. And really the events that they sponsor are based on employee inputs to highlight the multicultural aspects that really power GDMS.
That's awesome. So I am really impressed by your background, for sure. I mean, you have an entire Wikipedia page. I mean, that's amazing. What I would love to know is, what was it like growing up for you, balancing trying to be fully American and then also embracing your Asian heritage?
It's a great question, and I think I'm at a point where I can give a truthful answer. I grew up most of my life not necessarily being proud of being an Asian because nobody looked like us, and And I think I spent a lot of years running away from that, defending my mother with her accent to anybody that she spoke with. And that's a sad way to really grow up when you think about how in life we should be celebrating who we are, our heritage, the things that make us strong, the things that make our company strong. And so I think for me, it allows me to make sure that others don't have to repeat that. Certainly for my kids who are quarter Korean, they celebrate their Korean heritage very proudly. So, the bottom line is that this goes back to the importance of respecting people's backgrounds and understanding that America is truly that melting pot of individuals who come in to the United States for a better life. And that better life should not include having to lose their heritage. They should be proud of their heritage because that's what makes them who they are, and they should never be ashamed of their parents or how they were raised because of their heritage. So there's a lot, if I was to rewind the clock, that I would do better. And number one of them would be that I would have more respect for my heritage.
What you said really resonated with me. I think growing up for me, it was very much the same thing. I envied the people who didn't necessarily look like me, and I wanted to be more like them, to fit like a specific mold. And I would really kind of reject some of my heritage, and as terrible as that sounds, really. And then my dream was always like the American dream, white picket fence. This is what my goal would be growing up. And just seeing how much that's changed over the years and how much people have embraced more cultures here in America, I think of it the same way. Like, I wish I was more willing to embrace my culture back then when I was growing up. Now that I have children of my own, I'm like, oh my gosh, I do want to make sure that they embrace some of that Vietnamese culture as well. But no, I really appreciate that you're expressing yourself honestly and openly.
Well, I think this goes back to the power of positive change. We've come a long way. We still have a long way to go in terms of respecting people's backgrounds. These past couple years have demonstrated that. For all the advancements that we made, we had a number of setbacks in terms of how we value one another, how we value the different cultures. And if we've seen over the last couple decades what can be done, so there's hope that by just treating people with dignity and respect, that people feel that they can bring their whole selves to work, to organizations, that they're valued for what they bring, not because of the color of the skin, the shape of their eyes, or anything else.
So what, at this point in your life, encourages you and motivates you to speak out and raise awareness on inclusion?
To a certain extent, I'm making up for lost time, trying to recover ground that was a missed opportunity for me, but also making sure that others don't feel the same. Because I think we're at the point in our society that people shouldn't feel that way. And it's not a good place to be. It's never fun to sort of feel like you're the outsider looking in. And that goes back to inclusivity. But when you think about individuals who are a minority, children who are a minority, that's how it feels. You're an outsider looking in.
So I agree. I'm also feeling like I'm making up for lost times now that I have my children. My daughter is, she's definitely in the minority group. She's Asian, she's female, she has special needs, and I think about how much it's important for me to be a better advocate as her mom, to really pave the way, to help other people understand that it's important to include people who might not look like you, might not act like you, might not think like you, but it should be welcome change.
Yeah. Well, I know you'll do her proud, just by virtue of the question that you're asking. And I also think, I don't know if you've checked out our disability ERG, but that goes back to all these resources that GDMS has to be able to support individuals who are struggling with how do they do right by the individuals that they care about, family members, themselves, co-workers, et cetera. And the support structure that GDMS continues to build is there to help you find your way on that. Because as you find your way with your daughter, you're going to motivate her to do the same, to pay it forward for others, because she's going to look to you as the role model for what you did for her.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, I have an extremely important question. What is your favorite AAPI food?
No, I would have to say a combination of japchae and bulgogi.
Ooh, good one. I'm huge into Vietnamese food. There's so many to pick from. I love bún bò Huế. That's a beef noodle soup that's like nice and spicy. I love that. But it's just so much flavor, and my mother-in-law makes the best one. I don't know how she does it. Sometimes people make it too spicy, but she does it just right, and my kids can enjoy it too because it's not too spicy. Yeah.
All right, I think that recipe needs to go onto the EMC Squared site so that I can try it myself.
That is my next assignment.
There you go.